So is 2023 the year that TaylorMade have got it wrong with these two drivers? Keep watching and I'm going to explain why two of their top players are considering and have taken this out of the bag to use older models. So every year, TaylorMade, one or two new models in driver, and always good and always promises of more distance, more forgiveness, and particularly this year with Stealth 2, there's a big thing being made about forgiveness to give better quality results and more distance. And we've seen the likes of Scottie Scheffler, Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy doing the adverts for TaylorMade showing how good they are. But the little challenge is, at the Players' Championship, Rory's missed the cut and come out and said that he'd love to go back to last year's model because he feels he gets better performance, but he's worried about the face of the driver. But we've also had Collin Morikawa completely take it out of the bag and put Sim 2 in. Now, the thing I think is difficult is you've got two guys being paid a lot of money by TaylorMade to potentially play the new product that maybe aren't endorsing it quite as much as they should be. And potentially if I worked at TaylorMade, I might be a little bit disappointed. But you have got to look at it that they're there to win and play as well as they can. And you do see other players maybe not change into models quite as quickly. So I'm going to hit a few shots with Stealth Plus from last year. Obviously try and hit some out the middle, but hit some slightly off center, show you the forgiveness of last year's model. And then we'll use the two new models and see, is Rory and Collin maybe correct in what they're saying? Or is it just an excuse that they're maybe not playing great? And like all of us, we love blaming this and not taking responsibility. So, Stealth Plus, set up perfectly for me. Off we go and let's hit a few. So we can see solid, if not flushed out the middle. Hit up, spin was okay, 250, 275. We can see again, solid, a little bit low off the face. But again, very decent numbers at 260 and 285. Now I know both of those weren't flushed, but were fairly center. So let's try and get something a little bit more off center and see direction and distance, what the drop off would be. So you can see nearly missed it out the toe. Clubhead speed consistent. Ball speed still pretty good at 150. And okay, ball speed's dropped down, so carry at 233, total at 261. So you can see there, I mean, that was awful. And I'm pretty sure Rory and Collin don't hit anything that badly. The interesting thing was, yes, it cost me distance, but it didn't actually cost me accuracy. And I get the whole twist face thing, and I understand gear effect will make the ball shape like this, but I'm a big believer that accuracy is more down to me than it is this. I know some of you watching won't be comfortable with that, but you've got to own it. The good shot is me. Therefore, the bad shot, unfortunately, it has to be me. But we can see Stealth Plus, which wasn't the most forgiving of the two models, is actually pretty good. So now I'm going to go in Stealth 2 Plus and then Stealth 2 and see, are they better? Right, so Stealth 2 Plus. Now, obviously the promise is more distance, but we all know that flush out the middle can't be. So it's got to be that those off-center strikes have got to be better. So again, this is set up bang on for me. Let's try and hit some solid ones to begin with, and then we'll look at the forgiveness. Felt good. Again, clubhead speed decent, nice ball speed. Hitting up, great spin, and there's my 262, 285. So we can see the good solid one is exactly the same, which I would expect. Bad news is, if I want more distance, I've got to move it quicker. These aren't magic and they are limited. So let's look at the miss hit. So this is definitely the least forgiving of the two models. So let's try and get one a little bit toey to begin with. So we see a little bit low toe. Ball speed for me stayed up, which I would expect lower on the face has got less loft. We can see spins jumped up, but still pretty decent carry at 246 and 263 total. So again, not a big drop off for one that wasn't really flushed. Let's go again. It's always the same, isn't it? You try to miss hit one and it's still a pretty solid one. So good club head speed, great ball speed, launching well, and that's just my perfect numbers. But I think we can see, even when I'm starting to move around the face a little bit, we're not really seeing the ball disappearing off and missing fairways. So that's where I've always got a question, particularly the best players in the world. Yes, I appreciate, like I said, with the curvature of the face, the ball's going to set off differently and shape differently, but your ability as a golfer to deliver the club decently is still the biggest overriding factor. And for me, we go Stealth 2 Plus. Does it perform better than last year's model? Maybe a couple of yards. But let's go into Stealth 2 and see if that's even more forgiving. So now we're into the forgiving model. And it might just be one of those bad days where I actually just don't need loads of forgiveness because ball striking's been decent. Right, so for me, I mean, visually behind the ball, the new model is a different look, definitely a shinier finish, which I'll be honest, I'm not a massive fan of, but I still think it looks nice behind the golf ball. So let's see Stealth 2, how that performs. All right, so again, a little bit towards the toe. Again, decent ball speed, probably a little bit more drop off than I would like to see. Little bit spinny, but still getting out 250 and 265. And accuracy wise, still great. Now, definitely for me out of the two, Stealth 2 Plus, I am expecting to be better. Just going to spin a little bit less, which is kind of what I need with driver. And I think it's still really important that you get fitted, get it set up properly, and in the fitting you understand that if the numbers change, why are they changing? Is it because the contact on the face is different? Not necessarily because your swinging load's different. Again, I'll use Rory as a good example. At Riviera, he said for accuracy, he'd actually moved a notch up, which then changes loft, but changes club face position, which I can't criticise Rory because he's a much better driver of the golf ball than I will ever be. But it always seems a bit strange that if there's the perfect setting, why they're kind of tinkering a little bit with new equipment when they kind of have got so much confidence with an old driver set in one particular way. So I think you've always got to find which setup is best, stick with it, and then, like I said, take ownership. If they're good, it's you. And if they're bad, it's you. Right, cool. Let's go again. Stealth 2. Now, bad swing, blocky one, great strike, but definitely just launching a little bit high, therefore spinning a bit more, decent carry, just not running out because of the spin. But again, it's blocky. And I know anyone that watches my videos will probably, and comment below if you agree with this, probably go, I don't know what you're moaning at compared to some of your drives. That's like laser straight. But I can definitely see between the two models of this year, maybe don't get the numbers out of this one that I do out of the Stealth 2 Plus. But let's go one more with Stealth 2. So that one a little bit lower off the face, turning over, but again, still great ball speed numbers. Spins okay, and carry at 250, and total at 272. So, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because I think when you listen to manufacturers talk about new product, obviously they're there to promote their product. So TaylorMade are going to say how these two drivers are the best drivers they've ever made. Are they better than last year's model? When I look at the numbers on TrackMan there, it's minuscule, the difference, absolutely tiny, but I do think that they are more forgiving. You know, if Rory's not happy with this year's model and Collin's not happy with this year's model, I think more than anything that comes down to confidence. You know, the older model, they've hit lots of shots, got lots of validation that they know it works, and we've all been there, haven't we? Not at that level, but we get a new driver that's magic, we hit a couple of bad ones and we suddenly start doubting the club. I think if you go on factual stuff, and I appreciate it's a very small sample I've spoken about, but I do think that I keep my ball speed maybe slightly better with the new model than I do with this. So it does what TaylorMade say. I've watched other guys reviewing the product and they've disagreed with it. I've got no problem with that. In my test today, that's what I see. Can I understand why the players are talking about old models and them loving them and maybe putting them in the bag? Yes. I think the manufacturers are good now that they don't say somebody has to play that club, because it is more important that the guys are winning. But if you're in the market for a new driver and you've got last year's TaylorMade, I think it's unlikely you're going to change. But if you've got a driver that's maybe 4, 5, 6 years old, will you see more out the middle strike? Probably not. But is it more forgiving for ball speed? Yes. Is it more accurate? Not for me. If you put a bad swing, if I get that club face wrong, that'll still go offline, much as that one will. But you could see all of mine there. My delivery was decent. The strikes moved around a bit. Ball speeds were consistent and accuracy was good. So do I agree with Collin and Rory? No, not based on maybe performance, but can I understand why they would do it? Yes. Can I understand why club players do it? Absolutely, because club players definitely don't own their golf swings as much as tour players. But if you're in the market for a new driver, don't necessarily believe the hype. Get along, get them hit, see for yourself. Is it better? Is this one better? Yes, by the smallest amount, but I do think it is.